time management tips for student midwives, right? I don't talk about this a lot, but I have vestibular migraines. If you don't know what this is, they're not the painful kind of migraines. They are the dizzy kind with vertigo, and it's really difficult to get things done. Sometimes you have to lie on a bed looking at a single point, and if you're lucky, listen to an audiobook, but often I just lose time lying there. And it sucks. And then I've done really well. I haven't had to miss any of my return to practice course at all. Very proud of that. But I've just given in and got some medication basically because it's getting really tricky. But what I'm trying to say is time management tips, doing a return to practice course, trying to write a book, trying to run a community and do all my business stuff. Very challenging, but there are some things that really helped. And I hope I'll be able to share those with you. So it's worth mentioning this. There are lots of political things I would like done in maternity care, and part of running the secret community is about that, trying to get awareness up. I would follow the NAP Ministry on Instagram. They are a Black Lives Matter organisation, and it's to do with the Audre Lorde, who was a Black writer and feminist, sort of civil rights movement in the 70s. She writes just amazingly, and she said something along the lines of rest is an act of political resistance. And it's just remembering that as a student midwife, you are involved in reproductive justice for women and clients, and every time you rest, every time you manage to look after yourself, that is a very important thing. Just to mention that to begin with. Yeah, you will probably have a process. Everybody's body is different. Get to know what works for you. I know one student midwife who drinks coffee only when writing assignments, and then the pleasure of the coffee is linked to assignments. I know I have to get up really early in the morning. At the moment, it's, I started my day around 6, and that's a very standard thing for me, but I'm pretty much done with life by about 4 p.m. if it's my own schedule. So there's nothing wrong with your process. Sometimes there's all of this stuff about like get up, do exercise, drink a green smoothie or whatever, and that might be totally right for you, and if it is, awesome. But also you might be like my sister who has a PhD, and she really doesn't start work until she's organising her day. She really doesn't start work till after midday, and then works all night because she's a strange nocturnal creature. So just remember, any of those patterns is absolutely fine. You just have to work out what works for you and then find your process. And this is really about curating curiosity for the subject that you're studying or the assignment that you're doing. You have to be in the right mindset. Of course, there are times where you just have to push on through and get it done, but to get yourself into a place of, calm engagement in what you're up to, respect your physiology. And I even know student midwives who start off with TV on in the background when they're writing an assignment, because it takes the pressure off them, and then they transition to doing more of the assignment and they're less tuned into the TV, and then suddenly the TV gets turned off. Definitely know people who write very well under those conditions. If you just force yourself to do stuff all of the time, that's a recipe for burnout. So find a process, find a thing that you actually enjoy doing. Totally acceptable way of studying. So consistently ask yourself, does this need to be done? Most of us in midwifery, very conscientious people, but usually we are putting more effort in than is strictly needed. So can you, when you're writing an essay, what happens if you just aim to pass, and then after you've got it to that point, can you add a bit more? Or what happens if you just learn the very key things and then you can build on that afterwards, but don't let your conscientiousness stop you from doing the job in front of you. I have to be really careful with this one. Do not compare yourself to anyone else. We all have different things that the clients are really going to benefit from, but our ability to access those is going to depend on liking ourselves. So if you if you compare yourself to somebody else, that can be something that plays on your mind for a long, long time and really, really makes you quite upset in placement. I've heard it a lot. It can be a really painful thing, can't it? Like seeing somebody else who is more successful than you, or that's the way it seems, but you absolutely don't know what's going on in their life, how they work to get to this point. It's just, it's one of my life rules. Do not compare yourself to anybody else. Just stay in your own lane and keep turning up. Best advice there. When I first heard about the 80-20 rule, I was really offended by it, because I was sort of like, well, in clinical practice, I can't just neglect 80% of the things that need doing for each client. But actually, what we do as midwives is often very fast paced, and so you do the top 20% of tasks in the room. You work out whether the client has allergies, you put a name band on them, you make sure it's the right client, you look through their history, and you look for the really important stuff like blood group and do they have COVID, and what's their HB, and sometimes it's even faster than that, right? Like if you've got a multip coming in pushing, you might just say, have you had a normal pregnancy? And work out their gestation and their previous history, whether you need a cannula in or something like that. And of course, every decision about this stuff is the client's overall. They absolutely must make their own decisions. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes practice is so quick that of course you go for the top 20% of tasks that you need to do and then fill in the rest later. And that goes for assignments and things as well. I use an app called Anki to revise, and I'll try and do a video about it because I think it's amazing. It's ANKI. And what you do is make revision cards, and then you can test yourself at sort of spaced intervals that are designed to help you learn quickest. But what I'll do if I'm in a new placement area or I'm getting to grips with a new guideline, I will choose the top 20% of information in it and make revision cards and then go through those. So I'm not going to be an expert at any particular topic, but I do know the basics. And I think 80-20 is actually as much as my personality doesn't like it very much, it's actually a very useful tool to cut through, and it makes things seem less intimidating as well. You sort of think, well, what's the top 20% that I could be doing in this situation? Maybe just execute that, because 80% of my results are going to come from that 20% anyway. Oh yeah, I think as well, sometimes on social media, in the community that I run, I think we do wind each other up about, we tell each other the horror stories and not all of the wonderful moments. And it's worth turning up with an open mind on shift. It's worth thinking. I have a particular mentor who laughs at me because she's like, sometimes you go into these spirals of thinking, and this means this, and oh my god, that's gonna impact you for the rest of your life, and it's like, well, what are the odds that something today is going to impact me for the rest of my life? Really, it's quite low. Like a lot of the things that happen on shift, they're very important and we need to do our best with them, but also, is it most likely that everything is going to work out fine today? Because you're asking for help, you're using the SBAR tool, the situation background assessment recommendation tool. Your practice supervisors know that you're going to need some help because you're a student, so maybe just be open to the fact that it might all be fine, and then you calm down a bit, and that helps. I think when is it beneficial to panic, essentially, and perhaps swap some of the good stories instead of just the panicky ones. And you will absolutely put more energy into your degree and career if you have some fun with your friends at least once a week. This is really tricky for me when I have vestibular migraines, because I essentially want to stay at home, but I have one or two friends who know me very well and know what vestibular migraines are like, and I will kind of dose up with medication and go for a walk with them, even if everything is spinning. And that helps me no end. It lifts my mood, it makes everything better. So if I can do that with vestibular migraines, and my friend Hannah Gherkin in the secret community also has a chronic condition, and I know she has a very active life. She runs a business on the side, very, very social person. Find somebody who makes you laugh a lot. My friend, I won't mention her name because I don't have permission, but I have a midwife friend up north somewhere, and I used to work with her in New Zealand, and midwifery is so heavy. You have the weight of the world on your shoulders sometimes, and then we would discuss certain things and it would just seem hysterical in the moment, and I think you really need that, and that's some of the good stuff in midwifery. So yeah, you get some perspective on how funny things are. I have some really good other strategies that are a bit too long to go into in this kind of video. Things like running to-do lists and how to organise a to-do list in a kind of Marie Kondo. It's pulling from a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen, actually. And I've tested this theory, and it's literally how I've got things done for the last 5 years or so. Absolutely life-changing stuff. And there are other bits and pieces to do with being a student midwife that I believe will really help you execute successfully on shift and during theory work. So there are a few spots left for the time management workshop that I'm running tomorrow, 15th of May, 11 a.m. And you can drop me a line on ellie@midwifediaries.com if you're interested, or come to midwifediaries.com/time management. And I hope to see you there. So have a wonderful day, whatever you're getting up to, and thanks for listening.